Welcome back to Let's Talk Dog podcast. My name is Bea. I'm your administrator and moderator, and these are the ladies of Let's Talk Dog.
What's going on, dog freaks? It's Norca the dog guru from Central Florida.
Hi, it's Alexis, the vintage dog trainer in Missouri.
And we have our special guest here today.
What's happening, people? I'm Danny Wells. I own Unleashed Canine Services. I'm in the UK in Merseyside.
Welcome, Danny. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're so happy that you decided to come on. I wasn't sure when I messaged you if you were going to or not, because I was like, I don't think he has any idea who I am.
It's not really that. I've been asked to become on a few podcasts, but I tend to just keep myself to myself because I am an acquired taste and I'm aware of that. So I just tend to do my own thing. But I'm going to be launching an online academy towards the end of the summer. So I'm going to start getting involved in some things when I get the invite now. I'll have to just learn to play nice, so to speak.
Thanks for playing with us. We appreciate you.
Oh, I love an innuendo.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a couple of pretty standard questions. Can you talk to us a little bit about who you are and how you got started in dog training, and what brought you to where you are now?
God, quite an in-depth question that. Yeah, so I've been into dogs my whole life. I've never been without dogs, as most people say. I never ever realised it was going to be me calling. It was just something that I did. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of a sanctuary away from the real world when I was getting on with other things and pursuing different careers. But I was always doing this behind the scenes, helping people with dogs and so on. And it went until I was about a year away from qualifying with the level 6s to be a sign language interpreter that I realised that I'm probably not going to be that content doing that. And then I started taking it seriously, thinking, basically, I thought I had a choice. I had a choice that I can do something that brings a lot of money, but I'm going to need to balance that out with something that brings me joy in life. Otherwise, I'm going to be pretty miserable. Or I can choose something that doesn't bring a lot of money, but I'm going to love going to work every single day. And I chose that. And lo and behold, I didn't realise there was that many messed up dogs that I can make a bloody good living from doing something that I love doing. So that's how I've ended up here today.
How long ago was that?
Just going on 10 years now. Yeah.
How old are you?
I mean,
you don't look old enough for that.
I'm 37. Yeah.
Got a little bit of a baby face going on there.
Yeah, that's why I'm growing the beard. Yeah. People take me more serious.
Something about our generation there.
Yeah.
It is something about our generation. Right. And have you ever done any like formal training or any certifications or anything like that? Or is that something that you don't think is necessary?
No, I went away from all that. To be honest, when I started taking this seriously, a lot of influences was like, me granddad and stuff like that. People, I used to always watch, old school dog training. And it went the way it should be. And then I started reading when I was going to take this seriously. And I fell down this whole force-free kind of way of doing things. So I started trying to change everything. And it went long before I realized that I'm not really getting that far with doing this. So then I started apprenticing with a local trainer. I won't really go too much into that because I finished on bad terms. I learned a lot there, but I also learned a lot of what I don't want to be as a dog trainer. This person that I was with for years, I learned a lot from. Like I said, I learned a lot of what not to do. And when I started realizing there was things that I was learning that I shouldn't be doing, we started to clash a little bit, and we parted on bad terms. And I ended up working for another company as head of training.
Was he more on the compulsion side?
He was reward based, but it weren't so much compulsion because, I'm a firm believer of there is a time and a place for every style of dog training. No one dog is the same.
Right.
But what I was finding is there was a lack of education behind what was going on. For example, I'm not going to go into bashing people, but one time I watched him assess whether a dog was suitable for an e-collar. And the first thing he'd done was put the dog on the e-collar and let the dog off lead. So I was thinking, well, why has he done that? Because if this goes wrong and this dog flees, what is going to happen? And he literally tagged the dog, and the dog jumped about 6 foot in the air. It went on a high level. The dog was just super sensitive. Right. And the dog, I could see like the dog was blaming the grass. And I was like, this isn't right, because I'd done my own reading. And after going down the force-free avenue, it put me on the path of what kind of ponds that I need to be fishing in for information. And I was like, nah, this isn't the way it should be. And I just started doing my own thing. And funny enough, I went away from he actually dicked me in a trial. We went to do a BIPTD trial and he told me the wrong criteria. And when we got there, I weren't prepared for that trial. And I knew he'd set me up. So I disappeared for about 4 to 5 months. And I started doing my own thing with my own dog away from what he'd done. And my dog, when I come back, left everyone for dead. That was Brody. And when he started doing like open days and seminars, he kept getting me out and going, this is the standard that you get when you follow the training, when you follow me methods and all this. And I used to just smile thinking, this isn't your methods. This is all me. This is all me. But I just let him have his moment. And then we just parted ways. And, you know, I mean, like I said, you get lessons from everything. I am grateful for what I learned there and what you know, we did deal with a lot of really, really serious aggression cases, but I also learned that the tactful hand of changing your methods depend to which dog. And I never learned that from this person. I learned that from self-exploring. Do you know what I mean?
It's great. Love it.
All right. Now, within dog training, what is your passion? What is your favorite thing to do as a dog trainer? Your favorite type of cases?
I think it's not actually cases in the dog, it's cases in the people. I think there's that much confusion today in dog training. I love it when I see me clients' shoulders just relax. They come to me thinking that there is absolutely no hope. They've spent thousands of pounds with vet referred behaviorists. Some of the dogs are in on medication. They literally come to me like they're on the last legs, the last chance. And when I explain how simple things are and demonstrate it for them, I think we can all agree, once you see that relief in a client's face, I love the feeling of they're going to do this. They're literally going to go home now and train the shit out of that dog because they realize that dog training is actually its most effective and its most beautiful at its most simplest form. Right. All this overcomplicating is just completely unnecessary. And I love that. And then when you start seeing the dog improve, that's just a bonus. That's a bonus. But I think there's a lot of, you know, everyone focuses on the dogs in this industry. And what we forget is, if we don't focus on them people, the dogs have got no hope. You have to win the people. You have to show the people that there's a difference for the dog to even stand a chance.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, the more serious the behavior, the bigger the relief you see in the client.
And I think like what you do, you don't just manage like these dogs. You don't just get them to do a place because they're aggressive, so now people can walk in the house. Nope. You rehabilitate, like you really change this dog's quality of life. Like you change the way the dog looks at everything. You change the way the owner looks at everything. And then I think that's the beauty in the work you do. It's like, it is about the human and it is about the dog, but we make sure like the human is a trainer now. Like you have to make that owner the dog trainer because
that's it. I have a little niggle in my lizard brain that I just have this obsession about getting away from false positives, because in this industry you see a lot of false positives and you see a lot of management when there doesn't need to be management. They're not, you know, training to manage a behavior is not training to resolve a behavior. And I see a lot of that from you know, people who pass themselves off as being, you know, quite established trainers, which is fine as long as you're explaining that to the client. But if you're selling it as a result, as a finished product,
fix, right? As a fix.
It's not really the case.
Yeah, a lot of people have they have this idea that, you know, you just set up a dog for training and you're done, the behavior's gone and you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, and then you have the opposite end of the spectrum where you have I won't say like force-free trainers, but I'll say force-free extremists where they're literally out to brainwash clients that owning a dog should be a 12, 13 year, that dog's life. Every single day you're training towards achieving something. No, it's not. You're training to train that dog so that you can take that dog anywhere and thoroughly enjoy your dog. Yeah, training needs to be continued every day, but it should be in such a way that it's so subtle and you're that conditioned to handle the dog in a certain way that you don't even think about that. You can literally take your dog to the pub for a lunch. You can take the dog, you know, going for a walk in the hills, or you can go to a built-up area. But this whole idea that you're constantly working threshold and you're constantly trying to achieve a dream that's unobtainable, it really, really bites me on the arse. It's not dog training. That's not what it's about. And the only way you really get away with selling that ideology is by brainwashing people that that's what owning a dog is, a constant daily routine of training towards an unobtainable goal.
And it's a lifestyle. You should get up, and your dog should just kind of know what they're doing, because we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Just,
They're creatures of habit. Yeah. You instill them conditioned responses and they just comply and happy to do so.
Yes, sir.
Still working on that with my dogs.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
human too there. It's the human.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, a lot of that working with people, people are conditioned to act and react a certain way. And you've got to change those that in order for the dog to change. Because the biggest problem I find with working with people is they're not necessarily aware of their own behavior. And we need to be aware of what we're doing, because every little thing we do matters to that dog. So I'm quite ruthless. You see on my videos, I can come across as that I don't have, much empathy towards people's situations. I do. I just make it clear that I'm not going to act like I care about that, because your dog doesn't give a shit. Your dog doesn't care that your mum's not in good health and that your husband or your wife's going to leave you. Your dog does not care. It cares what it sees every day and what you put down that lead. And I remember when I lost Brody. I'm going to touch on this quickly because I'm still a big friggin' wet lettuce over this. But when I lost Brody, that was the single most heartbreaking day of my life. And after being on my hands and knees and screaming in tears, I come home and took my other dog for a walk like nothing had ever happened. Because my dog doesn't need to see that. My dog needs to see, come on, lads, we're going for a walk. That's it. That is it. And in a way, it's a good way of teaching, self-resilience and coping strategies in people. You know what I mean? Your dog still needs you.
You still got to get up. You still got to put that leash on. You still got to walk and feed the other dog. Yep.
Yeah, definitely so.
That dog will stay depressed in bed if you stay depressed in bed, and they'll be sad if you be sad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
You are your dog's biggest motivator.
Boom.
Okay. So how do you approach clients that really want to work with their dogs and want to make the change so that they can have their dog as part of their everyday life in and out of the home, that are at the point where they've got a dog that's so reactive that they have their own kind of reactivity, PTSD, trauma association with their dog's behavior? Like, how do you approach such a situation like that where it's really quite delicate because that person's response isn't necessarily something that they are aware of?
Okay, yeah. So we approach it in a person-centered approach. I'm not only weighing up when I work with a client of where the dog's starting blocks are. I'm working out where the clients are. Now that dog might be ready for 40-minute walks a day, but the client might have such anxieties about going out in the real world that they just can't manage to get out the front door, in which case training starts in their back garden or maybe in their living room. I find out the smallest stressful situation I can put that client in, and I have them working in that situation predominantly until they've inoculated their stress and anxieties at that level, and then we'll systematically start raising the level of stress that they subject themselves to with the goal of inoculating that stress. And also sometimes a lot of reactive dogs, they need that break, because obviously we know dogs are associative learners, and sometimes taking them out of that environment where they practice a certain behavior time and time again will give them the break they need to not quite reset them, but along that path make them feel a little bit less reactive than they were before. And it's finding that happy balance of client and dog where they can work harmoniously and achieve. It might be the most basic standard result, but it'll be something to achieve. I think a lot of dog trainers, it's very simple, like dog's reactive, dog can't be reactive, where there's many, many stages in between there that I just want my clients to have the smallest bit of success. Like, for example, someone messaged me on Instagram before, pointing out that I'd shared a video of one of my clients, and they were walking their reactive, human aggressive German Shepherd around the garden to heel. And I have a specific code of how people walk their dog. So one of them being, when we say heel, it's followed by a left leg, leaving on the left leg. So it's command, action, reinforcement if needed. And they leave on the left leg. And they pointed out, is this not confusion that they've just left on their right leg? And I said to them, concentrate on your own journey. The client that you're talking about had a very, very aggressive dog, and it was biting them. And now their dog's walking to heel around the garden, focusing on them, and it's not biting them. It's important that we celebrate all victories, not just the victories that are in line with my standard of training. I'm not training someone's dog to be to my standard. I'm training their perfect dog. And if we celebrate these small bits of success, as a byproduct of that, we build confidence in both the client and the dog.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that a lot of dog owners fail because they try to rush everything. Like they try to rush even for like basic obedience, even for just simple
Yeah.
things. People just they rush.
And it's understandable. Yeah,
Take
it's
your time.
understandable. Impatience get the best of everyone, don't it? They all want this result. We all want it. If we go to the gym, we want to look in fantastic condition tomorrow. After a week, you find yourself looking at yourself going, why the fuck do I still look the same?
Right.
We all want that. And it's just explaining things to people in such a way that they have realistic goals. Because when you start giving them goals that are in the clouds, all you're giving them is defeat after defeat after defeat. And you're never going to come back from that.
What I get a lot is my old dog or the dog I had
Yeah.
before. That's what I get, like a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Everybody
I
wants
shut that down.
the expectation of their perfect last dog, and it's like they're not the same. Every dog is different. Every single dog, whether you have the same breed over and over, every single dog is different. So
I said I had a client that said that. I think this was only about 2 weeks ago. Her husband went out the car to get the bag with all the rewards in, and she went, the problem is my old dog. And I went, let me stop you there. How far are you going to get with this fella if you say, you know, my old boyfriend? And she just laughed. And I went, we don't do that. We're dealing with an individual. We work with a dog-centered approach. Great that your last dog was fantastic, but this dog is a different dog.
Yes, that is a great, that's a great example. You do not want to be compared to your ex. You don't want to be compared to your ex. So don't do it with your dog.
Yeah.
So I have a slightly silly question for you.
Nothing
There's no silly questions.
And I ask
only the ones that don't get asked.
Every single person who comes on our podcast. What is your favorite breed? And what is your favorite breed to train?
Oh, hold on. We need little signs to like guess the breed and just like put them up. And then when they say that,
generally, I think you'd be surprised. I love working with Labradors. Mallees are a nightmare. They're just getting overbred. And when I get a good one, it gets me juices flowing. I'm like, ooh. But when I get a bad one, I'm like, you are in for one fucking journey. You do not realize. Yeah, I like working with bull lurchers. Have you seen any bull lurchers? I find that they're very well put together, very responsive to correction and reward. And generally speaking, when they come in, I'm pretty excited because I've had the most horrendous aggressive bull lurchers, and I can flip them around like that, and they have continuous progress with the handler. They just seem to be very well put together.
A working dog, that's what he likes.
Yeah.
And what is your least favorite?
Sharp haze. Sharp.
Oh my God, it wasn't husky.
He didn't even take a breath. He just said it.
Sharp haze are a nightmare. They are a absolute cesspool of bad
They're
genetics.
so bougie.
Yeah, they're a nightmare. They've always got dead sensitive skin as well, and a lot of them, you know, even a lot of them are really, really fearful genetically, but they aggress. You know, a lot of you can get obviously fearfully aggressive dogs, but a lot of fearful dogs will flee as well and will suppress. Most Shar Peis will find a way to aggress, you know, and it's not the dogs are easy. We know that, we know the progress, we know the routine to bring them round, but trying to get an owner to understand that it's not a little baby, stop feeling sorry for it, give the dog structure, you know, explaining all the routine and trying to get them to implement it is just so bloody difficult. It's so difficult. And
do you find Shar Pei owners more difficult than most other breed owners?
Like Shar Pei and pug owners.
yeah. It's more so because they're subjected to such fearful behavior out the dog. They're literally just they come in balanced on heartstrings, and you're just trying to get through that need to pity the dog can be very, very difficult. It can be really difficult. I've got quite a lot of footage that I can show them of really seriously fucked up Shar Peis that have come round, and I go, if you follow the system, this is what you're going to get, but you have to be able to see the wood for the trees.
Yes.
Okay. There was no hesitation. I'm just happy you didn't say boxers or huskies, because someone...
Shar Peis.
No. Yeah,
someone...
boxers can be difficult. They're bouncy. They like to climb the lead when you don't get their own way. They have their standard characteristics, but it's nothing that you can't work through. Anything that'll active stress when it doesn't get its own way, it's a pain in the ass when you're out in public working it, isn't it? Because you've always got frigging Karens in the background going, what's he doing? You have no idea what's going on. They can't read the situation, can they?
For sure.
My boxer puppy right now can't keep all four of his paws on the ground in his life.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Along with bulldogs, boxers have so much character. They are hilarious.
They're
They're like
got
little people.
personalities for days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my clients I was working with sent me a video on WhatsApp of their boxer. And again, I didn't tell, they didn't, it was only outside. They didn't need to go into the crate routine. The dog weren't destructive in the house. They were happy with it. And she sent me a video. She come home from work and it was literally sat on its ass, sat up in a chair, watching the football on the telly.
Yes.
And I was like, how long has that dog been doing that for? That is hilarious.
They have human bodies.
Yeah,
They
they're
do.
hilarious. Yeah. Yeah.
They're my favorite breed. Boxers and Huskies are my favorite, which is why I always ask that, because 99% of trainers will say my least favorite dogs to train are Boxers and Huskies.
No, I don't mind.
I
Huskies.
love training them. I adore training.
You don't love, you just don't
I
ever
would
want
never
them
in my
because you
life
don't like
own a
them.
husky because I said I'm gonna go buy a husky and own
Yeah,
it. Just to
I
keep it.
like training huskies, but for the reason that only when you're getting them breed specific groups, when they come, I go, your husky is going to annihilate all, because all this bullshit of it must pull, it must be in a harness. You're going to have a recalling husky that walks the heel, and they laugh when I say it. Other difficult breeds. Have you found that a lot of male breeds, like male Japanese Akitas, male Alaska Malamutes, they can be bastards. Male Rottweilers, they can be very, very difficult. They're very assertive. Genetically, they can be very difficult to work with. 9 times out of 10, someone will message me and go, can you help me with me with me male Japanese Akita? And I message back and go, are you having aggression problems? And they go, yeah. I go, thought so.
It's predictable when you see that breed. You're
Yeah.
like, I already know what your problem is. And this is because these dogs are meant to work, and they're not working. They're just being cute little fluffy pets.
Yeah.
That's not a cute little
Yeah.
fluffy pet. That's a very strong dog. That's a very big
And
dog.
they're being bred into a society that's given dogs freedom of choice, like they're people. And when you give a dog freedom of choice and don't direct them to what they should do, then they'll be directed towards what their genetic disposition says to do, and that's when you have fallout. And it's the same with the Mallees.
Yes, sir. It's the same with your human children.
Yeah.
Try not to tell your child to brush your teeth and get ready for school and all that for a few years.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a little structure in their life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So you said that you live on the same, you live and work out of the same place. Do you have a facility on your property, or do you just work your facility from out of your house?
Yeah, I have a facility on my property. So I have a farm that is now a dog training center. So I have a big cottage on the farm where I live, and then I've changed the barns into working areas for the dogs.
It's goals, baby. It's goals. All right. So for people in the UK that are looking for a trainer, what kind of services does your facility offer?
Oh, everything except competitive agility. We cater for all behavior modification with any breed. We have residential training options as well. I have a team of now 5 trainers that we can take dogs and put together training programs and basically instill all the foundations, because that's usually the hard bit, isn't it? Getting them over when you change the routine. If you have to introduce a crate, you've got anxiety in the crate, and dogs climbing the lead.
Human and dog anxiety in the crate.
Yeah. We do protection training. We've supplied dogs for the police, the prison services, and we do detection dog training. Again, exactly the same as behavior mod. I will not affiliate with any awarding body because they are all full of shit.
I like it.
Fair enough. Okay. Now I know with the UK right now, that you guys are struggling with the e-collar ban.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on with that?
Yeah. So basically, we gotta
explain what e-collar is, because not a lot of
no worries. So there's a proposed ban by the UK government. DEFRA proposed a ban on the use of electronic training collars. The ban is based on absolute nothing but emotive nonsense. The DEFRA study that they're going off is absolutely no proof. In 2018, it was deemed no fit reason to ban the use of electronic training collars. England is split into England, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Wales actually banned the use of electronic collars in 2010. And as a result of that, if you put together the police constabulary of England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, in comparison, Wales' percentage of dogs being shot for chasing livestock has gone up by 33% compared to all 3 of them districts combined as a direct result of banning the use of the electronic collar. Myself, James Penrith, and ARDO, for anyone who doesn't know what ARDO is, the Association of Responsible Dog Owners, you can visit ARDO website at joinardo.com, and you'll find all the studies related to e-collars and any information you need on that ARDO website, and you can look at that wherever you are in the world. We've been protesting. We've done march protests. I think we had about 200-300 people with their dogs marching in close proximity through the streets of London. We knocked on the doors of the government building DEFRA, and we handed them each individual letters explaining the use and the benefits of electronic training collars. Me and James have been to meetings in Parliament where they've talked about regulation, and we are still fighting this ban. We have now combining letters. We've asked all disabled and elderly people that are physically limited with handling their dogs to write letters to the government, explaining how the government are now seeking to make these tools illegal, and what have they considered the impact it's going to have on people that are not necessarily as able-bodied as the norm. I should have said as the general public, they have to basically have an alternative for banning the use of e-collars, and so far there isn't a single study out there that proves that positive reinforcement is a suitable replacement for any sort of punishment or any sort of balanced dog training. Not a single study exists. It's all just absolute nonsense. So we are fighting tirelessly, especially James Penrith. That man should be knighted for the work he does for dogs. At his own expense, at his family's expense, he is absolutely soldiered on. And, we're making some wiggle room. Nothing's in concrete. It's absolutely an atrocity if the government decide to ban the electronic training collar. And by the way, they're only banning handheld devices. The use of bark collars, which we know bark collars malfunction. I don't like to use bark collars anymore because, they do malfunction. They're not banning containment fences or anything like that, which suggests that there is not actually a problem with the aversion of
It's not about
blunt
causing
level
pain.
stimulation. Yeah, it's about the margin for human. It's about the margin for human error. In which case, that's a cause to regulate, not to ban. So we are fighting.
It's okay for your dog to get electrocuted passing a threshold, but it's not okay for a service dog handler to keep her service dog off leash and safe. And that
It's crazy.
Me.
It is crazy. And to be honest, if I was in any position of power, these educated people that hold these positions of power, if someone presented that to me, why they seek a ban, I would literally slap it down in front of them and say, do you think I am some sort of fucking moron? Are you expecting me to take this as legitimate reasons to ban the use of anything? Take that out and get out of my office. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing that
your hands-on experience, years of you doing this, like, what you're doing. And you're
not just that,
teaching.
Not just that as well. They put the vote to the public. I think it was only 5,000 people that even bothered to vote on the topic out of the whole of the UK. And it was like 75% of people voted against the ban. And yet the government is still trying to go ahead with it with no concrete evidence and the people speaking. And I called this, funny it's tied in with the mandatory vaccinations that the government are looking at scrapping now. But I said 3 years ago, this is not about e-collars. This is about they compromise in the very democracy we all live in. There's no science to back it up, and the public, the people spoke against it, and yet the government stands to do it anyway. That is not the act of a democracy. That is the act of a dictatorship. And if they can dictate on the use of just electronic collars, what else can they tell you you've got to do? Do you know what I mean? And, for the people who are viewing this now, mark my word, this isn't a war on e-collars. This is the start of a war on punishment, full stop. And to suggest that dogs are the only living mammal on the planet that are the exception to learning from the negative consequences of life as well as the positive is absolutely ludicrous. And it is based on nothing other than somebody's personal emotive beliefs, which is ridiculous. You're all entitled to believe that you should train your dog how you want to train them, but you should not be forcing that upon anyone else. And if for anyone viewing now, if you wish to train your dog in a purely positive reinforcement based way as possible, that is completely your choice, and I respect that 100%. Do not impose your will on anyone else. People have the right to decide what's right for their dogs.
Agreed 110%.
I agree.
True. Yes.
All right.
I love it. Great, Dan.
Good stuff.
I love it. got me all fired up. I want to go visit the UK and go fight with you about this e-collar. No, that's sad. It's really, that's a big deal. Like, I don't think people understand that, like, service dog handlers, I've trained a few service dog handlers that cannot even hold a leash, and they do need, require a button to walk with their dogs. Their dog does require to be off leash to perform the task. And then
but you have two sides. But you have two sides to service dogs now. It's a very toxic world, this service dog industry. I've put my head in it a few times, and I thought it couldn't get any worse than the behavior side, but it really is. You see, I'm a firm believer that service dogs provide structure for people who feel like they need something to be emotionally dependent on, by putting your time into structured routine with a dog, get you over your personal problems. And that really does help people. But you have the side where they honestly believe that pouring your depression or your anxieties into your dog is a suitable outlet. It is not a suitable outlet. And they're the people that are starting to fight. They excuse their dog's poor behavior because that dog helps them with their negative emotional state or their personal problems. That is not what dogs are there for. That is not what their dogs are there for. There's some great people in this country that are doing some fabulous work with veterans with PTSD through service dogs, and they are not crying and pouring their hearts into their dogs. They're giving these people purpose. They're giving these people purpose to get out of bed and get into a routine and train their dog and aspire to concentrate on having that dog have a fulfilled and happy life. And as a byproduct of that, they find that they're having a happy, fulfilled life as well. But I find that the toxicness from that side of the industry comes from the people that are encouraging people to pour their emotion into their dog and encourage them that their dog doesn't need training. It's specifically there for their emotional needs. That is not what a dog is about, in my personal opinion.
That's not even what a service dog is. A service dog performs tasks.
I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that in a lot of the cases. I see a lot of service dogs that are performing tasks, and their training is around that. But there are people that are saying my dog's a service dog, but literally just to pour their hearts into their own dog. And it might make them feel better. But again, we're talking about false positives, because my question is, what happens, God forbid, when that dog dies? You're going to be in a worse state than you even started. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I'm a service dog handler. My first service dog passed away 3 years ago in like a week. And I have an in-home service dog in training right now, and another service dog in training for public access. Mine is psychiatric, but my dogs were trained for my dog was trained for interrupting, crowd control, things like that.
Your dogs are doing and have foundation training. He's referring to people that just slap it on a vest.
Yes, that's not service dogs. That's emotional support.
Yeah. And by no means
tabooing.
Yeah, and by no means tabooing it. It's more of a thing in the US than it is in the UK. But what I'm seeing, it's the emotive side of this, where there's no like structured training in place to do tasks. It's just solely there because it makes them feel better. And they're the people I find that are taking digs at people who are putting time and knowledge into these dogs to do tasks and perform these tasks. It's a very confused area of dog training. It's by no means my speciality. I don't train service dogs. It's not my area of expertise at all. But what I see, dog training is it transpires. You can see where the foundations are. You can see dog training is that when you look at it from like that. And I see a lot of the problem is coming from people who aren't actually training their dogs. They're just calling them service dogs because they make them feel better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're actually a very big problem, especially in the US.
Especially at Walmart. Not taking your
Especially
pets
at
to Walmart.
Yeah. They are a big problem in the US, and because we don't have any regulations for service dogs and things like that, because it's such a difficult area, such a weird area of medical overlapping with government. I don't think we ever will, which just means that what we wind up dealing with is people increasingly ignoring ADA requirements because they've come across so many fake service dog handlers, or people saying their emotional support animal is their service dog when an emotional support animal is just a pet.
What I've been seeing a lot of is actual service dogs being turned down because of the pet with a vest. because
Yeah.
previous people came in there with a pet barking at everybody. So now that establishment doesn't allow even service dogs in, or real actual service dogs in, because of people who are just trying to pass their pets to service.
My part of the country, it's all kind of branded under the same thing. I'm thinking more of emotional support dogs when I'm talking. It's like I say, it's not really my thing, but where I'm from, it's all kind of put under this one banner. And I don't believe in dogs supporting people's emotions. I believe you should channel those emotions productively by training your dog. A lot, you'll see, you'll all agree that a lot of aggression and reactivity in dogs comes from people literally pouring their emotion into the dogs, and the dog has no structure and no understanding of what it needs to happen, not what needs to happen. You know what I mean? When certain situations occur.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's the emotional support animals, which
I met a person the other day who asked if I was a medium for pets, and I was like, no, I'm a dog trainer. What's wrong with your dog? It's like we were in a fire, and she has a little PTSD, and she seems just shut down and scared. I think I need a medium to just tell me and to explain to her that nothing is wrong and that she is fine. And I was like, well, I could do that through training. I can show you how to build confidence in your dog, and instead of you holding her in your lap like this, actually putting her on the ground and teaching her that this is a fun environment to be in, not coddle her into that emotion. Like this, you're literally sitting on.
This is it. People don't understand that stress is everywhere in life, and you have to inoculate stress in a dog. Avoiding stressful situations with your dog is not going to get them over stressful situations. Subjecting them to limited amounts of stress, inoculating it, and allowing them to increase their resistance to stress is how you get through it. The problem is there's people that get impatient and try and fly to here, and that's what we call flooding. It's too much too soon.
I just chucked my reactive dog in a bus, and then we traveled for a month.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, some situations, there's some flooding may be required for some dogs.
100%, 100%.
It's actually helped him quite a bit.
That wasn't flooding. That was not flooding.
And this is what experience tells you. There's many dogs that I go, right, march through that, and the dog's going to be fine. He'll throw a little wobbler, and then he'll be fine. And then there's many dogs that I'll go, I had a Labrador just in there, and I said, no. This dog's freaking out in the dark when people come close, and that's going to have to be approached slowly but surely, giving the dog a number of victories and the understanding that, is this a social norm? Do these things happen? Do people approach in the dark and everything's fine, and then move on a little bit further? It's about, again, a dog-centered approach. Every dog is different. I've had many dogs, my protection dogs. I know the genetics, the lineage to my dogs, and they all have fear periods, and I will literally march them on a bus or do what I need to do, knowing that dog will go, oh shit. Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. It's about knowing the individual dog you're working with, 100%.
Yeah.
I was worried about it. Norca's one of my trainers, and I said Norca's one of my trainers, and I have 5 dogs. For this particular dog, who's fear reactive, and I was like, oh my god, how am I going to adjust to this? She's like, just go.
It's like, all right. Like I tell people stuff, and then 3 weeks later they have barely inched into it. I'm like, dude, just fucking do it. That thing you're wanting to do with your dog, just fucking do it. Unless your dog suffers from severe behavior problems, obviously no. But there's so many people that just
and you get a medium
to just do that one thing.
But also, we're all fallible human beings. I've got that wrong before. The narrative that our dogs are these fragile little creatures that can't cope with anything is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of dog training, proper dog training, not these dog ticklers that the ink's still wet on a bullshit qualification they paid £6,000 for. Not these people, but proper dog training. You call upon thousands of dogs and years of experience, not 1,000 years, but you get where I'm going. You call upon 1,000 dogs and years of experience to say, this is how we're going to do this. But sometimes you call it wrong. And that experience is, as it's going wrong, okay, stop, take it back. That's not going to work for this particular dog. We're going to go down this route instead. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. The idea that, if you're a good dog trainer, you can't make a mistake ever is just fucking ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And that is what social media brings to dog training. A bunch of Karens going.
If you're a good trainer, if you're a good trainer, you are always learning. I mean, you've been doing this 10 years. I've been doing this 10 years myself, and I started with behavior modification. I started with aggression. I started with all that stuff. And just 2 weeks ago, I met a client and I was like, what the fuck am I doing with your dog? Like, holy shit. You know, I saw this dog and I'm just like, we tried this, that didn't work. We tried that didn't work. We're trying with the dog, but I can't approach that dog the same way I approach other dogs because there's a whole
but
different
you have
fucking
that
dog.
you have that outlook in any other industry and it's acceptable. So let me give you an example, right? So I boxed growing up. So you get in the ring with a fighter and you go around and getting your head punched in and your job is, oh, okay, my tactics were wrong there. I need to work out what this guy's going to do, throw a couple of feints. What's he do when I do this? What's he do when I do that? And now adapt to it. It's exactly the same with dog training, but you go back to your corner and your coach goes, nah, you need to press this guy. You need to do this. When he throws this hand, you need to do this instead. Okay, thanks, boss. You do that with your dog and 1,000 people go, he doesn't know what he's doing. What the fuck is that? You know, and you're like, what are you talking about? It's an ongoing process.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Practice. It's
100%. You have to feel out and see how the dog responds to this and how the dog responds to that. And, you know, most of the time when you're experienced, you just go, boom, it's done. But there are times when you go, okay, we're going to go down this avenue instead. Okay, no, let's change that. We'll go back to this, but then we'll add a little bit of that. It's all a work in progress. And, you know, for any new dog trainers that are watching this podcast, it's okay, but you have to have your heart in the right place. You have to let your heart override your ego, and you have to know when this isn't working. Let's take this a step back. Let's do this. Okay, let's do that. Okay, this might be a little bit out of my skill set. I'm going to refer you to someone else. Here's your money for the session. Best of luck. Please let me know how you're getting on. And then I'll liaise with that trainer and go, how did you go about that out of curiosity? There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I have many trainers that do that, and I'm happy to disclose what I did with that particular dog.
Love it.
All right.
Love it, love
Hey,
it.
Alexis, you got any questions over there?
I know, yeah, you still, yeah.
She's our quiet one. She's a little
I can
shy.
guarantee I'm minding her business.
Yeah, my team, new person in the room, and I'm like, this is awkward. That last bit is like story of my life right now. Having a dog that like routinely throws other trainers off, and everyone's kind of just like, well, let's try this, let's try that. Nope, we're backtracking. That's my life right now with my shepherd.
Yeah.
Give her to Danny. Just
I
give
know,
her
I'm
to
just
Danny.
gonna ship her.
Give her to
over
Danny.
there.
2 weeks with Danny, you're fine.
4 weeks
When are
minimum.
you coming to the US, Danny?
At this point,
I was supposed to be coming to the US a couple of years ago, but then all the coronavirus happened, and again, I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but I didn't want to get no vaccination. My body was dealing with everything, and I just weren't going to be pressured into it for any reason. But as soon as things are going well again and everything's back on track, I'm gonna come out and visit a few different people. I'm not going to go out and try and make any money and do any seminars.
Right.
I'm literally just going to go and see a couple of people that are like-minded, and if they're happy to spend a day with them and exchange some, you know, knowledge with them, and you know, no charge, no charge. I'm not there for. I'll be there for trainers. Yeah, hanging out with dog people. Yeah.
Call me.
100%. Yeah.
I'm
I'll make
only
sure
like
to stalk
6
you,
hours
Liz.
from
I'll make sure to
Norca,
stalk
and
you.
Alexis is only 10 hours from me. So
Yeah.
swing on by the south.
Yeah. Swing on
Don't
by.
overheat
In the UK, you can literally get from one end to the other in 6 hours. That's a mission for me, though.
That's nothing. I did that yesterday.
Nothing for
Yeah.
us.
All right, Danny. So what is one piece of advice that you give to most of your clients? What is one piece of advice that you're just like, you can't leave my facility without this?
That's a good question. That. Oh God, I'll come back to that. I can't think off the top of my head. Very, very rarely does anyone get me stumped for a comeback there, Nora. So freaking pat on the
Off
back,
the
yeah.
top of
Pat
my
on the
head
back.
here.
All right, you
Pat on the
noodle
back.
that one, and
Treat your dog.
in the meantime,
Treat your dog like a dog. Treat your dog like a dog. Think of the dog as a dog. That'd probably be the most consistent advice. If you think of your dog as a dog, you'll get more out of that dog than you can ever imagine. If you start trying to push any sort of emotion into your dog as a person, you'll have a false understanding of a relationship between you and the dog. If you treat the dog like a dog, you'll be rewarded so much back. It's unreal, and you'll both benefit from that.
What is a command that you don't ever teach? Like a command that you're just like, why do people do this?
No again. No.
My favorite.
People
My
just
favorite
become fucking white
my
noise
favorite
in the
is
background of the
sit.
dog.
shake, sit, paw, sit, shake, shake, paw.
Yeah, I don't like when people tell the dog how good it's been as well. So they go like, sit. Oh, that's a good sit. Oh yeah, thanks for that. You know what I mean?
I do it for myself when I say it. That's a good boy. Yeah, that's all me. That's
Listen,
me.
I talk
Excuse me,
shit
I'm
to
just
my
gonna
dogs when I'm
hide
on my
behind
own.
my microphone.
I talk shit to my dogs when I'm on my own. I've got a pit bull mix that we took from the rescue, and I haven't trained him specifically because he's going to be the star of the academy I'm going to take, because he's very, very high drive. His game is anything. He's completely untrained, and I've left him untrained and let him just do what he wants, because I'm going to train him in the academy so people can see the journey. Basically what Zach George did, only I'm not going to fuck the dog up. I'm going to train him, right? And
we can edit that out.
Do you ever remember the song Scatman? Do you remember the song Scatman? I'm a Scatman. Do you remember that song? It must be a UK thing. But every morning, his name's Ralph, and every morning I come downstairs and go, "He's a Ralph man," and he goes, "Whoa!" And he starts bouncing and spinning around.
You better record that entire jourey. That sounds great.
I will. No, yeah, it will. It'll be there. But yeah, so my clients do as I say, not as I do.
I love it.
I frequently tell my dogs that I'm going to turn them into tacos.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
They're criminals, all of them. All right. Well, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. So, how did you all get into the industry?
I started off at a doggy daycare like 10 years ago. Just saw an ad online and was like, "Oh, cool! I could do receptionist at a doggy daycare." And when I went, they had an opening for like the handler and in the back in the kennel room, and they offered me that position instead. And kind of ball rolled from there. The owner that worked for their or the owner that the guy that owned the place, he's been training dogs for like 25 years, and he was doing like, you know, fight work stuff, police dog stuff. He was doing all sorts of shit, service dog training. So I just apprenticed with him for a few years and then went on my own.
Oh, good stuff. B?
I have a fear reactive boxer that I finally got serious about because it got bad enough that I needed to find a trainer. And so about a year and a half ago now, I started getting into training and got serious and started getting educated and meeting people. And now I'm an apprentice.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. And lastly,
Yeah.
are you still there?
We had just a little chaos. Roommate got home and then was like, going to say hi. I got into it because of adopting a very dog aggressive German Shepherd that was undisclosed aggression, and then couldn't find a trainer to help. And everyone was just like, no, just euthanize her. And I said, fuck that, I'll figure it out myself. So I've just been figuring it out myself and still learning.
Very good. That's good. You never stop learning. Never stop learning.
But yeah, there's just so much argument still about like just equipment and ideologies and just.
Yeah, I think also about the way people relate to people. I spoke about this in a live the other day. You know, we live in an era where we can literally have face-to-face conversations from 7,000 to 8,000 miles away. And with that comes different levels of social capital. How I was raised is not how you guys were raised. Right. So, you know, I've had a lot of negative videos about me saying that I'm a misogynist if I call someone like love or girl or whatever. But I explained in them, you know, where I'm from, every little girl growing up will be, hello, princess, hello, girl, you're all right. Every male will be, hello, big man, hello, lad. This is just how we speak. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's such a misunderstanding where everyone wants to jump on the I'm offended by this wagon when people have different levels of social capital. Do you know what I mean? It's we need to start being more aware that we're not from the same parts of the world, and what might be acceptable in one part of the world won't be in another. Like, you know, I have a very basic view, and I admittedly then kind of branched in emotional support dogs with service dogs, because I could literally go into Liverpool town centre for 10 days, for 5 hours on the trot, and I wouldn't see one service or emotional support dog because they're not round here. So going off the back of that, if anyone has any experience, I'd be happy to, you know, see what's going on and learn more about this. So I have a limited view, but as soon as as soon as like B mentioned what she done, I go, oh, right, okay, then I'm more talking about this. So, you know, my experience and my understanding of what that isn't the same as yours, clearly. So I'll back away from it and admit defeat. Okay, I need to learn more about this. I'll branch that all in because you don't really see it around here. All I see is what people push on social media. So people are so quick to jump, but they don't realize we all have different levels of experience and see different things. I get, you know, the average force free trainers trying to educate me on aggression. If they spent one full day at my training center, they would shit their pants and run like the wind. They would never know what hit them. This isn't a little dog that might redirect. This is a dog that will pursue you. You know what I mean?
And
it's a different world. Yeah, it's a different
Well,
world.
With the differences of how people interact and how people were raised, Norco was raised drastically different from me.
Right.
She was raised in
From the same
Chicago.
way.
I was raised poor in Northern California. Alexis was raised in Utah. And even just in the US, the differences between how all three of us were raised are drastically huge. Because how you're raised on the East Coast versus how you're raised on the West Coast versus how you're raised on the South versus how you're raised in the North of just our one very large country.
If you've ever been to Chicago, like there's already so much.
Yeah, like it's so different. And then if you just get into our bigger cities, you have the same experience. So I think a lot of people forget that you're right. I think a lot of people do forget that we all communicate differently because we're all from different backgrounds. And in the age of social media and technology, we can do exactly what we're doing right now, which is talking from 3 different states in the US and then across an entire ocean in a different continent.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, at any point, regardless of my social capital, whatever I say, if I ever offend anyone out there, never be afraid to bring that up. I'll be the first person. I'm really sorry I offended you. I didn't mean that. I meant X, Y, and Z. But what we find is when we're like-minded with people from around the world, we can discuss that and we understand that. But as soon as there's any sorts of personality clashes, you've got people that are jumping and looking for reasons to call people out on, you know, friggin' ableism, misogyny, racist. It's just, I'm like, I mean, it is out there. Don't get me wrong. But it's so often do I see it happening and go, what are they talking about? I'm not seeing that. What are they talking about? And
then you go on a dictionary and you look up the definition and you're like, no.
Yeah, what are you talking about? But the reason I bring it up is all it does is sideswipe people away from the actual content of dog training. It makes it about political nonsense. It really does.
I had a meltdown about that this summer on TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't know. I stick to my dog training stuff. I'm done.
Yeah. Like I think that people need to focus less on going after each other and more on the dogs and the owners.
And stick to your field. Whatever you're teaching, just stick to that. Don't stick your nose in other fields and start talking about things you have never worked with or touched. If you have never had an e-collar in your hand and were never professionally trained how to use it, you cannot talk about that tool. If you have never worked with a prong collar, you can't just say, oh no, prong collars are horrible. I've never needed it for my Chihuahua. Like, okay. But
every person that's ever talked shit on any of our social medias all have one thing in common. You will not see any actual dog training on their platforms. They all just have so much to say. I would never, ever in a million years jump on, you know, a Tesla forum and go, Elon doesn't know what the fuck he's doing with electric cars, because that makes me a dickhead because I don't know nothing about that subject. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I would never do it. But there's so many people in the dog training industry just feel like it's their duty bound to give their opinion when their opinion is nonsense. They've never been there, you know, or, you know, well, I've had a German
I've
Shepherd.
trained
so
2 Malinois and that didn't happen.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is absolute craziness.
Like, you got to up your numbers there if you've only trained 2 Malinois.
Yeah. I use my social media to play to the people that enjoy my content. You know, I'm very outspoken. I don't really care about political correctness. I never, ever change. Anyone who comes to me always says, you are literally exactly the same person that you see on social media. And I pride myself on that. I have a lot of integrity about me. But I use these people. When you see me going at people and taking the piss, I never just go after them. They've always poked me. They've always poked me with a stick, and then they don't like it when I bite back. And when they do it, they'll walk away thinking they win when I block them. But what they don't realize is I'll use them because I know my audience like that about me. So I'll use it. I'll go back and forth. And when I'm bored, I'll block them and move on. And they think, I've won. But what they don't realize is I've just generated another 300 followers and probably about £2,000 worth of work when people go, hi, I've just stumbled across your profile. I go, hi, I'm happy to help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they're too stupid and emotionally invested in trying to win a bullshit argument that they don't realize. They work for me. They literally work for me. I'm off the scale ADHD. They hold my attention for all of a day max. And as soon as a new topic comes in, I go, yeah, on board now, block. And then I crack on. Do you know what I mean?
And you forget all about them and you move on. You keep training fucking dogs and making that money.
And they're at their mothers' meetings high-fiving each other going, did he block you? He blocked me. We win. And I'm like, yeah. You're still working in freaking the off-license selling fucking ale to underage kids while I'm freaking smashing life. Do you know what I mean?
You still change your dog's life and they're still over there teaching us shit that is not consistent.
Yeah. I'm making
All right,
I gotta
it
go.
my mission now to just play with them and not get annoyed.
It gets his views. It's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
And I
that
understand for as many people who follow me double hate me, but I can live with that.
I love your work, dude. I love it. Yeah, don't just make
All
a
right,
burner
well-
account.
Well, thank you very much, Danny, for coming on our podcast. For
My
our
pleasure.
listeners, I will put all of Danny's information down below. And what's the website for the Responsible Dog Owners? Association of
It's
Responsible Dog Owners?
www.joinardo.com.
Spell that.
joinardo.com. I'll put that as well. And our own socials for Let's Talk Dog Podcast are the same as they have always been. On TikTok and Instagram, we are at Let's Talk Dog Podcast, and our website is letstalkdogpodcast.com. And from there, you can find all of the socials for me, Norca, Alexis, and also Rachel, who comes on occasionally too. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Ladies, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.